We have been talking about direct and inverse variation all this time. I want us to discuss joint variation. After joint variation, the next batch of variation we are going to use and draw a curtain on variation is going to be partial variation. So in joint variation, it's a place where you have something like x is directly proportional to y, z, where if you change the sign of variation to equation, you introduce a constant that will now make your equation to be in this form. It is joint because you are joining two values or two items together. So after this now we are going to go into solving problems on joint variation, and as we do, you're going to be equipped with all you need to know on joint variation. The first question is this. Say that x varies jointly with y and z. Then when y is 2, z is 3, and x is 30. Question number A said that we should find the relationship between x, y, and z. B said we should find x when y is 4 and z is 6. This is the representation of a joint variation as I showed you when I was introducing the topic. Bring it down. We have x is jointly varying with y and z. If you remove the sign of variation and replace it with that of equation, you introduce a constant. You now have x is equal to k y z. Now in the information they say that y is 2, z is 3, and x is 30. You are going to substitute all these values inside the equation so as to find the value of k. In all our variations, direct, inverse, and even this joint, you could understand that there is a kind of tradition of finding the value of k, because if you did not find the value of the constant, you won't be able to use that variation equation. They say that x is 30, so use 30 to replace x. Our constant is there. They say that y is 2, so use 2 to replace y. And they say that z is 3. Use 3 to replace z. So in this case now you have, let me continue here, 30 is equal to k. 2 times 3 is 6. K times 6. If you want to know the value of k, divide both sides by 6. You're going to have 30 all over 6 is equal to k. And 30 all over 6 is 5. That means the value of our constant in this concept or in this question is 5. Now question number A now said we should find the relationship between x, y, and z. The relationship between x, y, and z remains substituting the value of k, which is 5, in this equation, where you are going to have 5 as value of k, and it will be related to x, y, z, which the values are not introduced. So let's have question number A answered here. The equation is x is equal to kyz, but we have calculated that our k is 5. So substitute k for 5. So we are going to have 5yz, and this is the required relationship question A has asked. So question B now. Question B, they say we should find x when y is 4 and z is 6. Very simple. Go to the grand equation, which is x is equal to kyz. Now they say we should find x, okay? It's going to be equal to when y is 4. Remember our k is 5. So put 5 for k times, they say that y is 4 and z is 6. So when you multiply out, whatever you have is the value of x. So let's multiply out 5 times 4 times 6 is giving us 120. And 120 becomes the value of x when y is 4 and z is 6. And that has brought us to the end of the first question on our joint variation. The second question says that x varies jointly with y and z in this form. Remember, the first question said x varies directly with y, z. But this is the fraction form of joint variation. So pay attention to also know how to handle the fraction form of joint variation. When x is 27, y is 9, and z is 2, we must find our constant. It is a tradition. So bring down the variation. X varies jointly with y all over z. That means x is equal to ky all over z. That is how it is. Now the question says that x is 27. Use 27 to substitute x. So you're going to have, that is from x, don't want to confuse you, it's got to ky all over z. I just brought this up. Use 27 to substitute x. You have 27 is equal to our constant, which you are about to find now. They said that y is 9 times 9 divided by z. They said that z is 2. So we're going to have 27 all over 1 is equal to 9k. K times 9 will give you 9k all over 2. You can cross multiply here. 1 times 9k will give you 9k. And it's going to be equal to 2 times 27. 2 times 27, giving us 54. If you want to find the value of k, you have to divide both sides of the equation by 9. When you do the left-hand side, you'll be left with only k. Then the right-hand side becomes 54 divided by 9. And 54 divided by 9, which is 6, becomes the value of k. Now let's go to question number A. Question number A says that we should find the relationship between x, y, and z. It is all about substituting 6 for k in the equation. So bring out the equation. X is equal to ky all over z. The relationship now is x is equal to, bring the value of k and use it to substitute it in the equation. 6y all over z. So this is the relationship question number A is asking for. Now question number B says find x when y is 14 and z is 12. Bring the equation back again. The equation is x is equal to ky all over z. Okay, we have found the value of x is going to be equal to our k. We found it to be 6. So write 6 times y is 14. So write 14 divided by z. They gave us to be 12. So if you multiply out this, whatever it gives you is the value of x. The equation is asking for. So let's multiply 6 times 14. 6 times 14. Sorry. 6 times 14 is equal to that divided by 12. 7. So the value of x, which question part B is asking for, is 7. And that has brought us to the end of question number 2 on our joint variation. Number 3. It says The universal gas law states that the volume of a given mass of gas is directly proportional to its temperature and inversely proportional to its pressure. Let me use this opportunity to give you more information about the universal gas law. Universal gas law is a combination of the Boyle's law, which you have used to solve problems before now in this our concept, and the Gay-Lussac's law. Is a combination of the two. Universally, it is accepted that Boyle's law and Gay-Lussac's law accurately directs the behavior of gases to their volumes, their temperature, and pressure. So this is the combination of the two laws, the Gay-Lussac's and the Boyle's laws. We call it the universal gas law. And it states as I had read. Now, the question went on and said that a certain mass of gas at an absolute temperature of 275 Kelvin and pressure 10 exponent 5 Newton per meter squared has a volume of 0.0225 meter squared. A, we should find the relationship between PV and T. That has been the custom. B, that we should find the pressure of the gas when its absolute temperature is 374 Kelvin and its volume is 0.018 meter cube. Now, the universal law is represented in variation as volume is directly proportional to temperature and inversely proportional to pressure. So this is the representation of the universal law and is in the form of a joint variation. Now if you remove the sign of variation and replace it with that of equation, you introduce a constant. So the whole thing becomes V is equal to KT all over P. Now they said a certain mass of gas at an absolute temperature of this and pressure of this has volume of this. So let's use this to replace the volume. So I'm going to have 0.0225. It's not going to be equal to our constant times the temperature given here is 275. So use 275 to replace the T. All over the pressure has been given to be 10 exponent 5. So use it to replace P. You have 10 exponent 5. You can cross multiply if you make this a fraction. K times 275 times 1 will give you 275 K. It's now equal to 0.0225 times 10 exponent 5. Now divide both sides by 275. You're going to have only K left in the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, you are going to have 0.0225 times 10 exponent 5 divided by 275. If we divide out now, we'll multiply at, remember that this is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, 10 times 10 into 5 places. It's going to give us 100,000. So 100,000 times 0.0225 is giving us 2,250. Now divided by 275 is giving us, that is our K now, our constant, is now having the value of 8.182. I rounded it up to 3 decimal places. So this is the value of our K now. Now with this value now, we can answer question number A. Question number A says we should find the relationship between P, V, and T. Just go to the equation. V is equal to KT all over P. Substitute the value of K inside the equation. Whatever it gives you is the relationship question number A is asking for. So we have V is equal to the value of K. Instead of writing K, write 8.182. Bring down T all over P. So this is the relationship question number A has asked. Question number B says we should find the pressure of the gas when its absolute temperature is 374 Kelvin and volume is 0.018 meters cubed. Let's go to our equation. V is equal to KT all over P. Volume has been given to be 0.018. So use 0.018 to replace volume or to replace V. Our K here is 8.182, then times the temperature that has been given, 374. So we have 374. All over, the question is asking for the pressure. So if you make this a fraction, you can cross multiply now. Use our calculator. P times 0.018 will give you 0.018 P. And it's going to be equal to 8.182 times 374 times 1. Let's find our value. 8.182 times 374 is giving me 3060.068. If you divide both sides by 0.018, you'll be left with only P in the left hand side, and in the right hand side you are going to have 3060.068 divided by 0.018. This ink should be changed. .018. So let's divide. Divided by 0.018. That is 3060.068 divided by 0.018, giving me 170. That means our P is 170,003.8 Newton per meter squared. And that has answered this question part B of question number 3. And with this question now we are drawing our curtain on joint variation. The next we are going to discuss now is our partial variation. And after partial variation, that will be the end of our discussion on variation. Welcome to the last segment of variation. This time I want us to talk about partial variation. There are two things I want to talk about it before we go into solving problems attached to it. One of those things is that it is only in partial variation where you have the introduction of two constants. We have discussed direct variation, that was introduction of only one constant. We discussed inverse variation, that was introduction of only one constant. We discussed joint variation, that was also introduction of only one constant. But in partial variation, you are going to see that there will be introduction of two constants. And the question about it always goes like this, that something is partly constant and partly varied with another thing. More of the understanding and the explanations will come when we go into solving problems. But let me just tell you that in partial variation, you'll be seeing things like this. For instance, you may see that A is equal to, you may not really see the sign of variation, is equal to something like B plus YV. If you see something like this, that means that A is partly constant and partly varied with V. So things like this are going to be the questions that are attached to partial variations. Our first question on partial variation says that X is partly constant and partly varied as Y. When Y is 2, X is 30. And when Y is 6, X is 50. Then we are asked to find the relationship between X and Y. That's question number A. Question number C said we should find X when Y is 3. This partial variation question now, as long as I say that X is partly constant and partly varied as Y, the equation straight is going to be X is equal to A plus B. Then bring in what it is partly constant and partly varied with. In this case now, A and B are both constants. And that was exactly what I told you, that it is only in partial variation that you have the introduction of two constants. Okay. They said when Y is 2, that X is 30. And when Y is 6, that X is 50. Another thing is that partial variations always leads to simultaneous equations. It is from simultaneous equations that you will be able to find the values of A and B, or the two constants that are involved. Look at this. First of all, they said when Y is 2, that X is 30. Use 30 to substitute X. So we have 30 is equal to A plus B, then Y is 2, when that X is 30, times 2. This will be your equation 1. Secondly, he said, and when Y is 6, X is 50. Use 50 to substitute X in the equation, and it's going to be equal to A plus B times the value of Y when that X is 50, which is 6. So this is our equation 2 now. So we are going to use the substitution, elimination or substitution method of simultaneous equation to be able to find the value of our A and B. This will give us 30 is equal to A plus B times 2 will give you 2B. While the second equation, 50 is equal to A plus 6 times B will give you 6B. If we subtract equation 1 from equation 2. Subtract equation 1 from 2. You're going to have, let's start from here. This is equation 1 now. And this is equation 2. So 50 minus 30 will give us 20. It's going to be equal to A minus A. We cancel. Now 6B minus 2B will leave us with 4B. At this level, let's divide both sides by 4. If we do so, we're going to have only B in the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, we have 20 divided by 4. That means B is equal to 5. Now substitute B is 5 in any of the equations, either equation 1 or equation 2. Let's take equation 1. Equation 1 says that 30 is equal to A plus 2B. And now we have discovered that B is 5. That means 30 is equal to A plus 2 times 5. We are substituting the value of B, which we discovered, for B in the equation. So we're going to have that 30 is equal to A plus 2 times 5 is 10. If we subtract 10 from both sides, you'll be left with only A in the right-hand side of the equation. So it's going to be 30 minus 10 is equal to A. 30 minus 10 will give you 20. That means A is 20. Now that we have discovered that A is 20 and B is 5, A is 20 and B is 5, we can now answer question number A, which said that we should find the relationship between X and Y. Question number A says that we should find the relationship between X and Y. Let's get back to our equation. Our equation is X is equal to A plus BY. X is equal to A plus BY. And we have discovered the value of A and B. Just put in the value of A and B. It has answered question number A. That means our X now is going to be A is 20. 20 plus B is 5. 5Y. That is the relationship between X and Y. Question number B says that we should find X when Y is 3. Our equation is X is equal to A plus BY. And the question says we should find X. X is going to be equal to, our A is 20. 20 plus our B is 5 times, say that Y is 3. So we're going to have X is equal to 20 plus 5 times 3 is 15. And 20 plus 15 is 35. And that answers that question. The second question says that D is partly constant and partly varied with V. When V is 40, D is 150. And when V is 54, D is 192. Question number A says we should find the formula connecting D and V. That is also to say find the relationship between D and V. Question number B said we should find D when V is 73. D is partly constant and partly varied. That means D is equal to A plus B V. That is the equation. And that is the equation of partial variation. Now, when V is 40, D is 150. Substitute 40 for V and 150 for D to get your first equation. It's going to be D is 150 is equal to A plus B times D, 40. Question 1. Secondly, and when V is 54, D is 192. So 192 for D is equal to A plus B times 54 for V. This is the second equation. Can multiply out. First equation will become 150 is equal to A plus 40B. That is the first equation. Second equation will become 192 is equal to A plus 54B. That is the second equation. Now, we can subtract equation 1 from equation 2. Subtract this from this. 192 minus 150. 2 minus 0 is 2. 9 minus 5 is 4. So we have 42 is equal to A minus A cancels. 54 minus 40 will give you 14. So we have 14B. We can divide both sides by 14 so as to find the value of B. And if we do so, we are going to discover that our B is going to be 42 all over 14. And 42 all over 14. 42 divided by 14 is 3. So our B is equal to 3. We have to substitute the value of B to be 3 in any of the equations 1 or 2 to find the value of A. Let's take equation 1. Equation 1 reads that 150 is equal to A plus 40B. And you have discovered B to be 3. That means 150 is equal to A plus 40 times 3. 150 is going to be A plus 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract 120 from both sides. You are going to have 150 minus 120 is equal to A. And if you subtract 120 from 150, you'll be left with 30. That means our A is 30. A is 30, while B is 3. As you have discovered the value of our double constant or two constants in our equation, we can now answer question number A. Question number A says that we should find the relationship connecting D and V. It's just very simple. Bring out this equation. The equation is D is equal to A plus BV. We have discovered the value of A and B. Substitute them. Whatever it gives you is that formula. D is equal to A is 30. 30 plus B is 3. 3V. That is the equation or the formula question number A has asked for. Question number B is asking for the value of D when V is 73. Let's go to our formula. D is equal to A plus BV. The value, we should find the value of D. Okay, bring down D. D is equal to A is 30. So we have 30 plus B is 3. So we have 3 times V. They say when V is 73. So we have 73. That means our D is going to be equal to 30 plus, let's multiply 3 and 73. 73 times 3. 219. 219. So if we add 219 to 30, 219 plus 30, to give us 249. That means our D is equal to 249. And that has brought us to the end of this question, question number 2, in our partial variation. Question number 3 says, the cost of servicing motor is partly constant and partly varied with the time it takes to do it. That must be a company like Volks, the one we have in Lagos. The time, they will charge you according to the time your service takes. Okay? The question said, assuming it costs 9,400 for a 5.5 hour service and 8,200 for a 4-hour services. A, we should find the relationship between costs, C, and time, T. B, that we should find the cost of a 7.5 hour service. Partial variation. Costs, partly constant and partly varied with T. That means C is equal to A plus B T. That is the partial variation equation. From this now, assuming it costs 9,400, use 9,400 to replace C. 9,400 is equal to A plus B times 9,400 for 5.5, that is 5.5. 5.5 means 5.5 hours. This is now our equation 1. Now equation 2 says, and 8,200. Use 8,200 in this time to replace C in the equation. It's equal to A plus B times, what is the number of hours this goes for? 4. So we have 4. And this will form our equation 2. Let's multiply out. We're going to have 9,400 is equal to A plus 5.5B. Equation 1. Then 8,200 is equal to A plus 4B. Equation 2. Let's subtract equation 2 from equation 1. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 4 minus 2 is 2. 9 minus 8 is 1. A minus A, they will delete themselves. 5.5, that's 5.5, minus 4, will give you 1.5. B. Divide both sides by 1.5. You're going to have 1,200 divided by 1.5 will be the value of B. 1,200 divided by 1.5 giving me 800. So our B is 800. Now substitute 800 for B in, let's say, in equation 2 now. Equation 2 is 8,200 is equal to A plus 4B. But our B is 800. That means 8,200 is equal to A plus 4 times 800. What is 4 times 800? 800 times 4. 3,200. So we have 8,200 is equal to A plus 3,200. Subtract 3,200 from both sides. I want to clean off this equation 1 and equation 2 so that I can have space. So if you subtract that, you are going to have 8,200 minus 3,200. And it's going to be equal to A. Do that subtraction. 8,200 minus 3,200. Giving me 5,000. That means A is equal to 5,000. Now we have found the value of A and B. We can now answer question number. Now question number A. Says we should find the relationship between C, the cost, and time. The number of hours it takes. So let's take our equation. Our equation is that C is equal to A plus B T. That relationship is substitute the values of B and A in this equation. That's all. So our C is going to be equal to A, we discovered to be 5,000, plus we discovered B to be 800 T. That is the relationship. Question number B said that we should find the cost of a 7.5 hour service. Bring down our equation. C is equal to A plus B T. The cost of a 7 hours service is going to be equal to A, which is 5,000 naira, plus B, which is 800, then times T, which the question is asking for 7.5. Whatever you get here is the value of the service. Start from here, 7.5 times 800 is equal to 6,000, then plus 5,000, that will give you 11,000. So the cost of that service is 11,000 naira. And that has brought us to the end of this question, question number 3. Assuming Etisalat makes up its monthly bills as follows: a fixed charge of 800 naira plus a charge proportional to the number of units of call on the telephone. Then, if they charge 2 naira per unit call, find the charges on A, 80 units, B, 150 units, and C, 782 units. This pattern is a pattern of a partial variation. They said a fixed charge of 80. Let's take C to mean the charge. This charge is equal to a fixed charge of 800 plus a charge proportional to the number of units. Proportional to the number of units means constant times units. So this is the establishment of the relationship or the establishment of the equation that satisfies that pattern on which Etisalat makes up its monthly bills. The information has told us that there is a 2 naira charge per unit. This 2 naira now is equivalent to the constant because for every unit you want to calculate, you must multiply by 2. So this 2 now becomes a constant. So you are going to use this 2 to substitute k in calculating whatsoever units that have been used in that phone or in that telephone. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that our C is going to be equal to 800 plus 2, which is now the constant, the price per unit cost. Whatever the units in the phone is, you must multiply it with this constant, which is 2, before you can get it correct, times the units. So this is the formula now that we are now going to be using in calculating our A, B, and C equations. So let's start with A. Our A equation says we should calculate the charge on 80 units. C is equal to 800 plus 2 times 8. That's what it means. That means the C is 800 plus 2 times 8 will give you 160. See, it's now boiling down to 960 because 800 plus 160 will give you 960, and this 960 is 960 naira. Question number B. From our grand formula also, C is equal to 800 plus 2 times whatever the unit is in B, 2 times 150. C is going to give you 800 plus 2 times 150 is 300. 300 plus 800 will give you 1,100. So here we have 1,100. And the last question, question number C, where we have 782 units. From the same equation, C is equal to 800 plus 2 times whatever the unit is, 782. Use the calculator to find the value of 2 times 782. 2 times 782. 1,564. That means C is equal to 800 plus 1,564. So add 1,564 to 800. So C in this case is 2,364 naira. And that has brought us to the end of question number 4 on our partial variation. In trying to explain partial variation for you. And with this question, I am drawing a conclusion to our discussion on partial variation and generally on variation. So pay attention to this. There is something significant I want to point out from here. And what is it? The constant. The constant or the unit charge for electricity. Pay attention to see how I am going to show you how to find it out in case if you meet it in your external or even internal examinations. Instead of assuming the power holdings charge, power holdings is the new NEPA. Formerly it was NEPA, now it's not power holdings. And they're really holding the power. Assuming the power holdings charge for electricity, E, is partly constant and partly varied with the number of units N used. If the charge for 82 units is 3,655 naira, while the charge for 42 units is 2,055 naira. A, we should find the charge by unit of electricity. It's one of the things that made me to show this question for you. Then B, obtain a formula for E in terms of N. And also obtaining a formula in terms of something is also what I want to use this question to teach you. Okay. As long as the charges of electricity is partly constant and partly varied, that means it is a partial variation. E, it will end up having this equation. E is equal to A plus B times that thing it is partly constant and partly varied with, which is N. So this is our partial variation equation. Now, it is for us to now form our simultaneous equations because there are two things. You say if the charge for this is this and the charge for this is this, that is what will lead us to the simultaneous equation. First of all, they say for 3,655 naira, it is 82 units. So use 3,655 to replace E in this equation. So we are going to have 3,655 is now equal to A plus B times the number of units, which is 82. This is now our equation 1. Equation 2 is going to be the charge, which is 2,055 naira. Use it to replace E. So you are going to have 2,055 naira. Is now equal to A plus B times the number of units attached to it, which is 42. 42 naira. Or 42 units, sorry. So this is equation 2. Equation 1 and equation 2. Our equation 1 is now, equation 1 is going to be 3,655 naira is equal to A plus 82 times B will give you 82B. Then the second equation is going to be 2055 is equal to A plus 42 times B will give you 42B. So this is equation 1 and this is equation 2. Subtract equation 2 from equation 1. So put the sign of subtraction here. 5 minus 5 is 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. 6 minus 0 is 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. So we have 1,006 here. It's equal to A minus A, they will go to hell. 82 minus 42 will give you 40. So we have 40B. Divide both sides by 40, so as to have only B in one side of the equation. So I'm going to have here 1,006 divided by 40, and it's going to be equal to B. You can cancel out this. 4 divided itself is 1. 4 divided this is 4. Divide this is 0. That means B is equal to 40. We can substitute B is equal to 40 in any of our equations. Let's take equation 1 or equation 2. In any way you substitute it to get the same thing, but look at the equation that is simpler so that you will not give yourself stress. Let's take equation 2. Equation 2 says that 255 or 2055, sorry, is equal to A plus 42B. But we have calculated B to be 40. So substitute 40 for B. So we're going to have 2055 is equal to A plus 42 times 40. I have used 40 to replace b. 42 times 40. 42 times 40 is equal to 1,680. So we have 2,055 is equal to a plus 1,680. Subtract 1,680 from both sides. We are going to have 2,055 is equal to, minus 1,680 is now equal to a. So subtract 2055 minus 1680, 375. So our a is now 375. This is the value of our b, and this is the value of our a. We can now go into the equations a and b. So we should find the charge per unit of electricity. This is one of the reasons why I chose this question. Let's go to the formula. The formula is E is equal to A plus Bn. E is equal to A plus Bn. This B is the unit charge of electricity because it is the constant that you must always multiply to whatever the units you are given is. So whatever the value of this B, which we have calculated here, is, that is the unit price of electricity. So question number A, the unit price of electricity is B, which is 40. Then question number B said we should obtain a formula of E in terms of N. From this, E is equal to A plus B N. What that question is asking for is put the value of A and the value of B and leave E and N. That is E in terms of N. So E is now equal to A was calculated to be 375. Then plus, let me start it here so that it will enter. A, which is 375, plus B, which is 40. And so this is the equation or the formula for E in terms of N. And that has brought us to the end of the fifth question on partial variation, which ends our discussion both on partial variation as a sub-topic and variation itself as a prime topic.